Okay. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the Out for the Season podcast. This is episode 3. We're not injured. It's just winter time. Today we're doing a filmmaking episode with Josh from Stay Wild. And as always, we got Toogie here from the Toogie Hazard YouTube channel. And I'm Tyler from the Good Trails YouTube channel. So let's just get into it. Hey Josh, let's get in with you and see how'd you get started in mountain biking, man?
I've been mountain biking for 15 years now, I guess. I first got into it. I was a part-time employee at Sport Check and started selling bikes and knew nothing about them, but knew I wanted to get and start riding, right? So yeah, I eventually just cobbled enough money together to get myself an Iron Horse Sachem way back in the day. It was like 2007 was when I got my first legit bike. I'm starting a little further on, but yeah, got myself in riding a lot of the East Mountains. So I saw you rode Albion Falls last summer, or the summer before, I think, and those were my home trails. So that's where I got started mountain biking, and
Nice.
just tried to get myself down the hill in one piece.
Nice.
Yeah, well, and are you from Dundas? Is that where you were originally from, or is that just where you're living now?
So I'm in the Dundas area now. I grew up on the East Mountain of Hamilton. So again, the Albion Falls and Kings Forest trails, they were my home trails for a long time, and just kind of cruise around there. But now I do most of my riding with Freewheel Cycle in Dundas. So we do Thursday night group rides kind of all through the valley there. And then I'll ride a few other kind of local trails through there. But I'm all over the place. I'll try and get out up north a few times a year and ride some trails up in Perry Sound and all the way in between. So yeah, local trails are great though. I love it. I think I've grown to love climbing because we have to do so much of that in the Dundas Valley that that's like, I'm a little sick and twisted and love climbing just as much as the descent. So
Toogie, have you been into Dundas yet?
I haven't. It's on my list. That's one thing I'm going to try to do this year is to get back to doing some more local stuff because there's tons of trails down sort of in that area around that area in Burlington, Hamilton, Dundas, Waterdown, even Albion. That's on my list. Tons of places I haven't been to and need to check them out for sure.
Yeah, Rich will have you out too, right? Three of us can get out for a ride soon.
Yeah, I want to hit up actually Hilton Falls. Is it Hilton Falls or Halton Falls or whatever?
Hilton Falls, yeah.
Yeah, or in the Agreement Forest. That place looks gnarly, and I've never been there.
It's a different style of riding. I can tell you that. It took me 4 times before I was like slightly comfortable enough to piece something together. Yeah, it's low tire pressure and just methodical pedal strokes. Mm-hmm. It's nothing where you're going fast. It's just like you want to be able to get through rock garden after rock garden. It's
right.
Once you get it, your technical riding skills will get so much better.
So have you been up to Buckwallow around Gravenhurst? Is it similar to that style of riding?
Not Buckwallow. Georgian Nordic is the spot that I normally go. I've done a couple of videos up there, and the riding there is sick because it's similar to Buckwallow from what I've seen and from what I've heard, where you have those granite slabs that when you ride it, it's like Velcro. Like the first few times you ride, you're nervous about riding on that much rock. But once you get your tire pressure and you start riding, it's like a roller coaster, just up and down. And they've got decent dirt there. Like we're used to the clay that we have around here, right? Whereas it just so much more traction. Still a lot of climbing, but just mainly because you're just up and down on boulders. But ton of fun for sure. If you can get up there, I highly recommend it.
Sweet. I'll have to check it out for sure. I can't wait.
Cool. So just throwing back to that Georgian Nordic, one of your videos, I think that's one of my favorite videos from you, is when you went up to Georgian Nordic. You were doing like a family camping trip, but you got out for a ride to go there. I think that was how it went.
Yeah, we rent a cottage there every year.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite videos. You do a great job telling stories. And for just anybody who doesn't know, Josh has a YouTube channel called Stay Wild. And I like that you put in the extra effort and you fly the drone and you get the extra shots. When did you get into filmmaking?
Oh, that's another one. So when I was 16 and I had the option of having my parents pay for my G1 or put some money towards a camera, I went for the camera. So I was a skateboarder in high school, and even when I was 12, I think I got into it. And obviously when you're skateboarding, you want to make little videos and that. And so I started just shooting stuff when I could, editing on iMovie with a little handy cam through a little fisheye lens, and shot everything fisheye. And as I started to progress, I realized, switch up your lens and your angles a little bit and you can tell a better story. And so that was kind of my first foray into filmmaking, was definitely the skate side. But then going through high school, we had a pretty decent communications program, and I learned about Sheridan College. And after getting my degree at McMaster, I went out to Sheridan, got my film degree as well. And so yeah, I've been doing that since. It's been pretty fun.
Right on. I think that's pretty funny that you had the option to get your driver's license or some filmmaking gear. I think that says a lot about who you are. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's one of those things where, you know, I had all my friends that were close by. I didn't really need a license in my eyes at the time. Later on, it was like, hey, I gotta get on top of that. But definitely, even to this day, I mean, I'm in my studio right now, and I spend way too much money on film gear. It's just, it becomes an addiction. Bikes and film gear, right? It gets expensive.
For sure.
A car actually is kind of a filmmaking tool when you look at it too, right? So you get to a point where you're like, oh, I want to go further to get that shot, and now you need to have a car.
Yeah, that was also a good point you made there, because then it was shopping for the car, trying to find the right one. Hatchback in Toronto, best way to go.
Nice, cool. So, what was your first camera? What did you end up getting back in the day?
Yeah, so I've got them all memorized. I started off with the Panasonic GS120. It was a 3-chip camera, so it had like the best color of the time. Still loaded mini DV tapes into it. And then I think I moved on to the DVX 100B, which was like my first professional level camera. It cost me like $3,500, and I got that in 2007 or 8, I think. And that one had full XLR inputs and that, so I could run pro level audio. Then it was almost like a sidestep downgrade with the Rebel T2i going to HD. But it's just crazy how like filmmaking's kind of changed throughout the years, where I almost felt like I took a downgrade to get the HD because I was losing audio quality. And Jeff, you're an audio guy, so you know how important that is.
For sure.
So it was tough with that, right? Just trying to figure out what sacrifices I want to make with my cameras and that.
Right. That's kind of funny you mentioned, because I used to do wedding photography back around the same era you're talking, because I had a Sony PD 170. That was like the 3 cc, was it CCD, I think they said. And I remember the cameras you had, they were all out around the same time, and it's amazing how much things have progressed since then. I just finally picked up a digital SLR to do video with, and it's got like autofocus and everything, and it's like face tracking with digital SLR, and it's like, wow, this is pretty awesome.
It's insane how you can just like set it up on a tripod and be fairly confident that it's going to track your face. And it's crazy that I've got the Sony A7 III now. I just kind of did a big Sony switch up, and the A7 III is pretty good tracking my face. It's still not as good as the Canon, but I needed something to match my cinema camera, which has no autofocus on it whatsoever. And I paid $20,000 for that thing. So it's insane that, just depends on what you're going to be working with, what's going to work for you. And those Canon cameras for especially YouTube are insane. They're so good.
Yeah.
So what's your cinema camera? Is it a F7?
Yeah. So, it's not in the shot right now. I can just bring it over here. Let's see here. Yeah. So I kind of had to flex a little and threw my buddy's cinema lens on too.
Yeah.
So that's this guy here. I don't know how well you can see that.
Wow.
So this thing, I was kind of told I should make the investment and change it up from the C100, which is what my old camera was, mainly because one of my main clients is Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and they're all Sony based, so I had to make the switch over. But I mean, the footage is so good from this camera now. I'm super happy with it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. So you run your own videography company. I understood from a video that you'd posted up before that you used to shoot weddings.
Yeah.
And now you've moved away from weddings and you've moved into outdoor.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I'm trying to mainly stick to commercial cinematography and filmmaking. So again, MLSC is one of my main clients. I work with Bauer Hockey and Sport Check as well. So Sport Check, I started as an employee. I do still work once a month there as an employee, but I also do a lot of their content now online, which is pretty sweet. So I'm able to do a bit of both. But yeah, it's a pretty big switch and change up that I made, but so happy that I did it, because now I get to shoot way more content that I like working with, and kind of working with the brands that I really want to work with.
That's awesome.
How is it as an owner operator of a company, and your main client being in Toronto and you're in Dundas? Is that something you find to be an issue ever?
Rush hour traffic is the main thing, but
Yeah.
no, it's really not too bad. How am I doing here? Am I peaking a little?
I feel something rustling around, but I don't know what that is.
I hear that too. But no, the only thing I really find is just that rush hour traffic, and it's just typical Toronto stuff, right? You get used to it. Throw on a good podcast. I got a new one to listen to now, so throw on a good podcast and just cruise. There's nothing else you can do, so just enjoy the ride and the time in the car while you can. So
yeah, that's a good outlook to have. It can be frustrating. So let's talk about how you got started into shooting mountain biking then.
Yeah, so with the mountain bike content, again, it was kind of that transition over that I really wanted to make, where I wanted to kind of start shooting passion projects and things like that. And I watched BKXC and Seth's Bike Hacks and that as well, where, you get these creators that they may not even have a ton of video skill, but they're putting out these amazing videos just with GoPro footage. And, we didn't really have much in Ontario as well until, guys like us started shooting the mountain bike content with a gimbal that kind of smoothed out the footage. Because before, there's still tons of it online where you've got this shaky footage and it's normally pointed at right at the handlebars. You can't see anything. So just to showcase some of our local trails, and also just for myself to kind of look back and see how I've progressed, right? So that's how I got into shooting the POV stuff. But then with the other content, I realized that you guys were doing a better job than I was with the POV footage. So how could I kind of show off our trails and kind of the people in our areas that are so integral to the mountain biking and outdoors community? So I figured with my filmmaking background, I could start kind of working with these people that might be interested in showcasing what they do and how they get people involved in the community.
Sweet.
And is that how you started doing the locals?
Yeah. So the locals was, again, it was just something that I just found that I wasn't creating the content that I wanted to make. So I reached out to my friend Tim, who is the ride leader of Freewheel Cycle, and he does the Thursday night group rides. And he said, or I asked him if he was cool to do a documentary, and it was supposed to be just like a 1 month project, just get it done, just to put out there. And it turned into a 6 or 7 month project, that first one, because people just kept coming through the woodwork saying like, oh, you got to interview this person about Tim. Like, this person has got a great story about him. So people just kept coming through the cracks, and I just really wanted to make sure I told the story right. So yeah, 6 or 7 months later, it was finally done, and I was super happy with that project.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm still hearing something on the feed. I don't know whose microphone, or somebody's making some noise. I don't know what that is.
Don't think it's coming from my end. Check.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
of course it's not. Too. It's not doing it now. I don't know. That's weird.
Strange.
As long as we're good there. Yeah. Let's not mess up that audio, guys.
No, I know.
Okay, well, we'll cut that out. Whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just watched the locals, I think, for the third time today, and I was noticing that I was like, wow, there's a lot of different locations in this film. It must have taken you a while to do it. And I wasn't quite sure. I thought, I could ask you today. So you said it took about 6 months to make that.
Yeah, that one was about 6 months because we were interviewing multiple people. That one, I think we had 4 other interviews that we did, because I had a couple other people help me out with that one, and just working with timing. And then obviously with one of Tim's good friends, Yannick Bisson, who's an lead actor on Murdoch Mysteries. So he is an actor, so he's in the union and he's super busy. He spends his wintertime in California and mountain bikes down there. It was pretty nerve-wracking trying to get a hold of him before he took off for California. And so I managed to get him in. But yeah, logistically, that was the toughest part, was just trying to get everyone together at the same time. And then once I got the interview, trying to actually get riding footage of the two of them, because otherwise he was just standing, because we actually interviewed him on his set. So they have a standing set in Scarborough for Murdoch Mysteries, and he was wearing his 1910s, 1920s suit, which wouldn't make any sense to the documentary whatsoever unless we kind of explained who he was and got some riding footage. So I finally got a time where they were both together, and then I ended up booking a job the same time, and so I couldn't actually be there with them. So I sent them with all of my GoPro equipment. Luckily, I bought 2 Hero 7 Blacks, and so the stabilization was good enough in those that they didn't need to set up the gimbal or anything like that. But they got out for a day of riding, and I managed to piece together enough B-roll with that trip. So that was like, I was sweating trying to get that one done for sure.
So when you're putting together something like this locals series, how much work do you put into that sort of like storyboarding or coming up with the idea and the shots and everything ahead of time? Because I know that's one thing that I don't do a whole lot of, and sometimes maybe think I should. And for something like that, there must be a lot of that involved.
Yeah, so the pre-production for that one, it was something that I had started doing before I even told Tim I was going to do a feature on him, or even asked him. I kind of voluntold him he was going to do it with me. But that was, I had a good sense of who he was just from riding with him. Like, you go riding with this guy, and it was mentioned in the documentary where we'll just go for a ride and someone will stop him and say hi. So that's how I kind of already knew that there's a story there. And then I just started trying to build up questions. I just started talking to him more on the rides, just kind of asking him questions, and then I'd start to write them down. I don't do a lot of storyboarding per se, but I'll write down the questions that I know will build on that story. And once we do the interviews, then I kind of know what B-roll and what footage I need to overlay to go along with the questions I've asked them.
Sweet.
That was actually a good question, Toogie, because I was going to ask you, you asked about pre-production. I was going to ask about the post-production and just how long that took together. And I also wanted to mention that I really liked your music choices in that first episode as well.
Yeah, so the post-production it can be my favorite and least favorite point. And I mean, anyone who does video stuff knows that it's painstaking. It can take a while, and to get some good editing happening, you have to make sure everything was shot properly. So the production side is definitely my favorite. I love lighting stuff and making sure the audio is good. And yeah, it was just a lot of work in the back end, finding music. That's probably my least favorite, actually, is finding music for projects that is copyright free. So I've music bed subscription, an Artlist, and a Epidemic Sound subscription, and I run that through my company. So that's why I have all three. But hours of just sifting through trying to find the right track, and it's just like knowing kind of what works with his personality, the style of footage, and what's going to work well with the audience too. So takes forever, and so that was something that I'm glad you enjoyed that music, because that's my least favorite thing to do.
Yeah,
mine too.
Yeah.
It's just like trying to find something. It's just brutal. So I mean, Toogie, I don't know, do you do your own music or?
No, I mean, I probably could, but then it would take me 6 months to put out a video, because it'd take me 6 months to write that one piece of music. It's just easier to get it off Epidemic Sounds or whatever. But like you said, trying to find it, and you'll find something that's like awesome, and I find sometimes I'll overuse it and I'll be like, oh, I just used that one like 2 videos ago. I can't use it again. And then and trying to find something else, it's so hard.
Yeah. And the one cool thing with Epidemic, I know, is that you can actually split the song apart and just use stems. So you can kind of, like, if there's a song you really liked, you can kind of change it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So you can maybe use it for a portion of a video again, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I definitely I've seen that option. I haven't actually played around with it, surprisingly, but I definitely think it's something I want to do, because like you said, there's some fun songs on there, and if you just take out certain elements of it, it would almost make it a new song.
Yeah.
I've given myself the unfortunate rule of never reusing the same track. So I've made like 120 videos and I haven't used the same track twice. And
jeez,
I think I should. I think I should just break it, but I won't. I'll probably, like, I'm in the middle of editing a video right now, and I haven't even worked on it in 3 or 4 days because I got so frustrated looking for music that I was just like, I need a break.
Yeah.
So but other than that, I enjoy the editing process. That's also my least favorite part. So
I like when the edit, when it starts to come together, where you're like, okay, this is actually going to be good, or you can kind of see it in your head that this is going to be a nice story or a nice video. Because I know sometimes you'll have all this footage and you're like, you have no idea how it's going to turn out. And at least for me, I don't have too much of an idea ahead of time. So it's nice when it all comes together.
Yeah, I find for myself, if I go in and I'm gonna start editing or shooting a video, actually, I'll kind of try and think like what the story point is, and I think, I mean, one good one for like perfect example for you two, was when you were doing the Godzilla drop, which at Hydrocut, which I still can't bring myself to do because I just think I'm freelance, I'm gonna break a bone and can't work, but that was one of my favorite videos because you built that story up of this is something that I haven't been able to do. I've kind of chickened out every time and I'm going back, I'm going to do it. And so you have that beginning, middle, and end where you're telling that story and it's relatable. So for me, I've gone back like 3 times since. I'm like, okay, I gotta be able to do this. And I still can't get my head around doing it, but I'm still I'll roll it every time. But watching friends of mine who are downhillers and they have no problem, they'll go do it. And I've used your video a couple times trying to hype myself up, and I can't get past that point. It's a mental block for me.
That drop is not an easy drop. I mean, I've done probably bigger drops and scarier drops, but there's something about that drop. I don't know if it's the approach is kind of awkward and you don't have a lot of speed, and the way it just kind of looks like you're just jumping off into nowhere.
Yeah, it's a blind landing.
It is intimidating for sure.
Yeah. So, but that, I mean, going back to my original point, that way you built up the story. You've got your beginning, here's where I am and what I'm doing, and then kind of having that rolling, and you can see that mental block. And then when you break through, it's just it's a well-pieced story, and I think that that's what I try and do with a lot of my work too.
Yeah.
So Josh, you're at the start of telling another story right now. You're kind of in pre-production for a new project. You think you could tell us about that?
Yeah, I've actually started shooting it, but so that one actually started when another bike shop in Hamilton, that's a community-based bike shop, New Hope Bikes. They're in the east end of Hamilton, and they saw my locals episode with Tim, and they actually approached me to do a documentary on a project they've been working on for a few years now. They became involved in 2017, I believe it was. I have it written down, but I believe it was 2017. The Ontario Provincial Police actually came to them because they had a program running up in Pikanchigum, which is a community way up on the border of Manitoba and Ontario. I think they're telling me some stats about it where this community has, I think it's the same distance to drive from the GTA, so Toronto area, to Florida. So it would be like driving down to Florida, but you're driving northern Ontario, and that's how far it is from us. And there's actually no road access to Pikanchigum. So only in the wintertime do they have an ice road that you can cross. And so the OPP have been working to build this program up there to get kids into riding bikes, and got New Hope involved. So what they did was actually shipped a shipping container, so one that you see on cargo ships, sent it up there during the wintertime, and built a bike shop out of it. So that's been running for 2.5 years now. And if anyone from New Hope Bikes is on here watching, hopefully they can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, they've been running that for a couple of years, and have been sending parts and bikes up there so the kids can learn how to build and tune their own bikes. So it's a pretty cool project that they've been running. And to keep that funding going, they're doing Ice Road Challenge. So there's 40 people that are going to be going from Red Lake, which is 110 kilometers, that's southeast of there, and they'll be riding fat bikes in about 2 weeks, actually, to Pikanchigum. And that's like a 10-hour ride in potentially minus 30-degree weather. Yeah, 20.
Holy.
So there's going to be 20 OPP officers involved. They're going to be doing the ride. I heard, and it's not confirmed, I don't think, but the commissioner may be doing it himself. He's apparently an avid cyclist, and I'll be there filming in a follow car. So my brother's coming up, as well as another filmmaker, and we'll be shooting a documentary about the ride. And then my hope is to go back up in the summer to actually interview a lot of the kids about how the bike program's going, and make sure that they're still stoked on riding bikes.
So how long has Hope been involved with the community up there? Just last year, or?
I think what he said was, let me just check here. March 2018 is when the shipping container went up there. And I'm just trying to see. They've been involved, I think, from 2017, but actually sent that shipping container up there in 2018. But they've been up there doing other stuff. So they've been teaching kids. Mainly, one of the mechanics up there was saying they've been basically repacking bottom brackets because it's so sandy and gritty up there. Bottom brackets were just falling apart because the first bikes that were sent up were like CCM Canadian Tire bikes. They weren't that great. And over the last year or so, I think Marin Bikes was involved in some way or another where they were sent a bunch of hardtail Marin bikes. And so the parts are getting a little better, and they're just cobbling together parts from other bikes to do repairs and kind of learning how to do that. So kind of gives the kids the responsibility and initiative to kind of work on their own bikes and gives them something to do throughout the summer months.
Nice.
Cool. So your mission as the videographer to go up there is to spread awareness of the project that New Hope is putting together, correct?
Yeah. So hoping that through this ride, their goal is to raise $25,000 to $30,000 for it's called Keep Pedaling in Pikangikum is the actual program running. And so their goal is to raise that money to just keep the program running. So they're actually paying the kids that are going to be running the shop. So these kids, again, have actually come down to Hamilton to New Hope where they've done some more training with them. They've actually taught them how to do basic tune-ups, how to kind of rebuild their bikes if they fall apart, and how to build new ones. So now that they've got some skills behind them, they want that program to keep running, and that 30,000 would go towards paying the kids, keeping parts kind of going up there. It's expensive to send stuff up there, again, because everything has to be either boated in or flown in. So I think one of the costs I heard was for a bike pump that would cost $30 here, costs around $100 to get it up there.
Wow.
So it's pricey, and just getting those kids involved and the fact that they're excited about it, you want to keep that momentum rolling, right? So that's what they're trying to do.
Nice. No, that's good.
Cool.
that Marin's gotten involved with that, because it sounds like a great program, and it's good to have a proper bike company now helping out.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. And again, I don't know the extent of their involvement, but I know that they are a partner with New Hope Bikes. So that's one of the bike lines that New Hope carries in their shop. So I'm pretty sure it gave them a pretty good rate on the bikes, if not supplied some of them. But one of the other things actually is some of the fat bikes that are being ridden up to Pikangium are going to be left there. So they'll have bikes to ride in the wintertime as well. Obviously, with it being so far north, it stays colder a lot longer. And that gives them just another avenue of something to do up in the wintertime there, because days are long and dark. So having something to do to keep entertained is pretty important, right?
For sure.
So are you creating a series of videos, or are you creating like one long documentary, or how is that going to be delivered to help spread awareness?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of open-ended right now. My goal is to do an actual documentary film where eventually the hope is to submit it to film festivals and that. But it's tough right now. The story's still kind of developing and evolving. I haven't met any of the kids yet, so I don't actually know who the characters or the main subjects are going to be up there. I've got a few people I've interviewed so far down here. Two of them have already been to Pikangium. Andrew Hibma is one of the people at New Hope Bikes, and he's been involved since the beginning. Another one is Zach Shattenkirk, who I actually interviewed for Tim's The Locals documentary, and he's one of the mechanics down there. So he's been up to Pikangium once or twice now, I believe, and he was the one that was teaching kids how to repack bottom brackets over and over. And the third one is Paulo. His Instagram is Crank and Grind, and his thing is just doing long distance fat bike rides and kind of adventure rides. So I have three very different perspectives. And then I'm going to be interviewing one of the OPP officers who's been involved from the beginning. But I think the big thing that I really want to get is those kids and hearing their side, where, how bikes have changed their lives, if at all. Hopefully they have. We just want to get more people riding them. So that's where it's up in the air. I'm really hoping to get like a 20-minute documentary out of it and get more kids stoked to ride.
So this is obviously a long-term project. Like, do you have sort of a timeline for how long this will take before we'll see a finished product?
I'm gonna get at the very least a teaser, kind of like a 2-3 minute video done. Potentially just on the ice road challenge. because that's like almost a video in and of itself. But definitely there's going to be a longer form version of that. But yeah, the ice road challenge will be a video in and of itself, I think. It's pretty crazy. It's a super tight turnaround on the ride itself. We're flying out there on February 6th. And that's a travel day, I think, all day. So we fly out 8 a.m. and then get to Thunder Bay around 11. And then it's a 7-hour bus ride to Red Lake. And we stay overnight there, I believe. And then the next morning they do the ride. And it's a 9 to 12-hour ride in somewhere between -10 and -30 degrees. And then stay overnight in Pekangigum. We're staying in the high school there and just turn around and heading back home. So it's going to be a pretty quick turnaround.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's pretty wild. And the fact that they had 40 people sign up and it's sold out pretty quickly is pretty cool that people got involved that quickly.
Now, just we talked about it earlier, equipment wise. What sort of equipment are you going to need for a shoot like this? Like, I wouldn't even know where to start for trying to do that much video in one day. Like, the amount of equipment or redundant equipment must be a pretty long list.
Yeah. So I'm shooting it all in 4K. Now the FS7's cards are pretty reliable. They're a little more robust than a SD card. I'll just pop one out here. So these guys here, they're XQD cards. So they're pretty solid. But they're expensive. 120 gig card is about $400. And so I'll be renting a couple more. The main issue that I'm thinking is going to be battery life. With it being that cold there, batteries freeze.
Yeah.
So I've got a few big brick V-mount batteries. I don't have any around here, but they will last a little bit longer. I'm hoping that will kind of get me through the day between those and then just my regular Sony batteries here. But then my hands are the biggest fear for me, is like just being able to think about getting good shots when my fingertips are freezing off, because I can't really wear mittens when I'm shooting. I can wear thin gloves, but the hope is that I'll have a pickup truck that I can kind of sit in the back and get my shots, then go in, warm up my hands, and be back out again. So
Right.
yeah, I'm in a Facebook group for the actual riders, and I'm hoping to get a video this week with Paulo, who's the adventure rider, and he's got an insane amount of gear, and they've been talking about what they're going to be using depending on the weather, because even the ice and snow reacts differently at different temperatures, right? So I believe Zach was saying that at -30, they're better off on the ice roads because it's like Velcro, it just sticks. It's so cold. Whereas if it's -5, it's slippery and slushy. So they don't know until they get up there. So they have to go with a ton of that gear. I have to go with that gear and then my camera gear. So it's like gonna be tough trying to fit that all into a small charter plane.
Right.
Have you looked into battery warmers? I think Anton Bauer makes some for their V mount, and you just demount it into the top of the battery, and then it just is like a sleeve that'll slip over the back. I think we've used them in news settings before, but you probably could rent them.
Yeah, no, I haven't really been in a situation like this. Like the coldest I get is in hockey rinks for the Leafs, and sometimes outdoors, but they're quick hits. It's nothing like you're outside for long periods of time. So it's good to know there's definitely that's the biggest fear for me right now, is just having batteries freeze, because it's again a 9 to 12-hour ride, and there's no chance to charge batteries or anything like that, right? So I'm gonna take my drone up there and hopefully get some shots too. But again, with those temperatures, I just don't even know if I'll be able to send them up. But it's part of the fun of it too, is just figuring stuff out as you go, and just see what kind of happens and what comes of it.
Right. So I was just thinking, so with this being such a big project, if we just sort of talk about your YouTube channel itself, do you have any other plans to do any smaller videos just here and there as well?
Yeah, so I'm trying to get a little more regular on YouTube for sure. It's tough for me. The filmmaker, it's kind of snobby filmmaker side is like, it has to be this quality every time, right? And just trying to convince myself that I can pump out lower quality stuff just for some entertainment value. So definitely some product reviews and things like that will come out as I go. And my channel is a bit of a hybrid. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but my love for filmmaking and mountain biking are pretty well equal and even. So it's a bit of a mixture of the two. The studio that I'm in right now, I have two buddies that are both way better filmmakers than I even am, and one's a full-time YouTuber that pumps out content constantly, and it's just crazy watching him work. It's a full-time job in and of itself, and you guys know that. And so it's tough for me to go say I'm going to do weekly, but I'm trying to get a little more consistent and get those videos out. So I've got a few ideas for the year. Hopefully, again, we can get out for a ride, three of us, see what can happen in the next summer, right? So
Yeah,
hoping to get a little more out, but nothing consistent yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that would be cool to get out for a ride. And I also think that there's kind of a void in that space right now where it's like mountain biker, filmmaker, YouTube channel. And like I'm thinking of, are you familiar with the Lone Ranger?
Yep.
He made a video on just color correcting footage. It was like a 2-part series. So it was like a 20-minute video and then a 25-minute video. That got like 500,000 views on each video. And it was just a color correction seminar, basically.
And that's part of the thing, right? I mean, I know BKXC, his style is a little bit more unique too, because he actually doesn't use the super wide. He goes with the medium, so it's like slightly cropped in on the camera sensor, so it doesn't have that fisheye look. But I think he just uses like GoPro color and just goes full auto, and it works for him. But if you can get that little bit of extra finesse and touch in the color grade, it looks sweet for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, even just having a conversation like this could be a topic for a video, comparing how YouTubers make their videos, and you could talk about settings and have people on the show, and like that could be easy content that you could make from home pretty much with a little bit, and I would totally watch that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's and I've thought about doing a bit more of that, and it's tough because sometimes you think that it's really saturated, but I think it is more about the personality in that. So I don't know, if people are down to watch it, I'll do a couple and see what happens with it for sure.
Yeah,
it's a great idea. It's something that I haven't really thought of. I've got, like I said, like my consistency is terrible, and that's the big thing with YouTube. And I started shooting even a product review just on Oakley sunglasses, the difference between them and the knockoffs, because I've seen a couple videos that drove me nuts. Just talking about the AliExpress ones, how they're just as good or better. And I actually went into, a friend of mine is an engineer and works at a testing facility that actually does destructive testing. And they've got a phantom slow motion camera. So we were firing ball bearings at Oakley sunglasses versus the fake ones. So I have all this footage and I have to get it done. I got to get him in to actually give his like expert advice. And again, that's me saying like, I have to have it as a perfect video. And it's always tough for me to just like go with my knowledge. I mean, I know what's the better sunglass, but I like to get kind of the professional advice from that side. So that's that finesse where I'm just brutal. I'm brutal for it for sure.
Yeah. Well, YouTube can be tough for that for sure. I mean, you always want to be a perfectionist, but at the same point, like I know right now I've put out a video every week, at least one video every week since I started. And now I'm afraid to take a week off. I don't want to take a week off, and I'm putting out videos that, I think sometimes they're maybe not the best video, but it's something, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's again, the other two guys I share the studio with, they're good at that. They know that, hey, it might not be my best quality, but it's good enough to get out there. And it's just that balance. It's that balance between the two. And I'm always on it has to be perfect side, which is maybe a downfall, but I like being a perfectionist with the video side. So
yeah, it's a shame because there are different strategies for producing content, and it's a shame that the algorithm rewards the one but not the other. And I think some of the bigger channels on YouTube that they do put out one video a month or once every couple of months. I'm thinking like Vsauce or something like that. Yeah. And they do put in the higher production quality and they do take their time. It's that they have, this is just, I have a theory about the algorithm, that they have such a loyal following and people know their videos are going to be good. The second they see their video, they're clicking. And I think the algorithm also recognizes that too.
Yeah.
But either way, they're both long-term strategies. You have to build up an audience that knows that, like, that's familiar with your work and essentially enjoys your work.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, it's just a guessing game with YouTube, to be honest. I used to do the every week thing, and who knows, I might continue, but at the same time, I do want to make good content. I have a little bit of that filmmaker in me as
I
well.
know. I think you're in the same boat too, and that's the tough part, right? Is just getting that balance for sure. And I was gonna say something else along those lines, and I forget what it is right now, but hopefully I'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's okay.
But with the YouTube and being a mountain biker, like you mentioned earlier, that video at Godzilla at the Hydro Cut, I do feel that pressure myself, as a lot of my videos are kind of point of view stuff, is going out and saying, okay, I need to do something in the video. I need to go bigger. Yeah, I need to hit that big drop. I need to do something I haven't done before. Or what's the point of the video? But at the same point, either I'm going to get really hurt, or I'm just going to stop riding because I'm not going to know how to keep upping myself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just remembered now, but I think when I started my YouTube channel as well, kind of going along with, it was stuff that content that I wanted to make, but I knew that with the type of content that I'm making and where I'm a perfectionist, is more that I'm hoping to get the right eyes on my work. I want everyone to obviously enjoy what I'm doing, but my goal and my hope with my film company side is that, I get way out there, but companies like the North Face, people like that see the work that I'm doing. And that's a ways off, but I'm producing the type of content that they would like to see. And I mean, you never know who's going to stumble across your work. And that's where, I just try and hammer down and make sure it looks as sick as it possibly can. The cinematography has to be great. The audio has to be even better. And that's the biggest thing that I've been really happy seeing a lot of YouTube videos, is that people are putting way more time and effort into the audio. And I'm a film guy and a cinematographer through and through, but the one thing that one of our profs told us in film school is, like, you can watch a pirated movie that has got kind of crappy video as long as you can hear the story. If it's the other way around, you're not going to be able to finish that movie because you don't know what's being said. You don't know the story. So audio is so important too, right? So that's one of those things, just making sure that everything is perfect. So when those right eyes land on it, hopefully I land a job.
Yeah.
I think something with doing this podcast that is helping me is kind of just on the audio side, building a show that you don't really need video to watch. Like with YouTube, it's always come when you start YouTube, you're thinking video first. But if you can build a story that somebody can just hear and know what's going on, then the video is just like an extra layer of entertainment on top of that.
Yeah.
But that's cool. So I also had a question that I forgot, but that's probably a good thing because that means I'm paying attention. So locals episode 3, can we talk about that? Is there anything that you have?
For sure. So there's actually 2. One I'm still working on. Toogie, Rich from The Perfect Line.
Yep.
I'm still grinding down on him to make sure that he will eventually do an episode. Let me just shut this guy off. So he's been a little hesitant to do it. He's going, I'm not a camera guy. I can't be on camera. But I'm working on him. He's going to be eventually be in an episode. But I actually just met with hopefully 3 or 4. I'm not sure what episode she'll be in, but Janie Mitkis, I think I'm saying her last name right, but she's a mountain biker and rock climber, and she was semi-pro for a while. She ended up I won't tell too much of the story. I don't want to give it away, but she had some issues where she couldn't rock climb and mountain bike anymore. And so she actually got into wood burning, and now she's an incredible artist that does commission pieces for clients all over the world now. And yeah, her stuff is absolutely incredible. And I can, let me see if I pull up her account here, because it's absolutely gorgeous. And she works people will send her photos of memories they have from mountain biking or rock climbing or just the outdoors in general. And she always tells them, I kind of take some artistic inspiration from this, but I'll kind of work in my own art to it too. Right. So it is, so Janie Mitkis, JANYMITGES. And her artwork is, incredible. So that's going to be episode 3. She's now mountain biking and rock climbing again. So I've got that aspect as well. So I'm probably waiting till the spring to do that so we can actually get her out riding, because apparently she's incredible. I haven't actually ridden with her yet.
Nice. Well, good luck getting Rich on the channel. I know I tried to get him on my channel because he designed my logo there in the background, and I wanted him to come on my channel and talk about his stuff he's done. And yeah, good luck with that.
I'm working on him. I'll work on him for you, and then hopefully we can get him on yours later on. But I think he's open to it. He's just a little nervous. But he's got a pretty cool story too that I'm sure you know. So he's a pretty solid mountain biker in the community as well, and graphic designer that kind of took the same turn that I did, where he was working a 9 to 5 for another company and went full-time freelance. And now his company, The Perfect Line, is making really cool mountain bike apparel. And now he's just launched his second company, Dundas Valley Trail Co. And so theirs are more just outdoors oriented. So it's a little more general and broad sense. So he will eventually make his way onto YouTube in one way or another. We'll get him on.
Yeah, I can respect that. Starting just kind of going for it and starting an outdoor company like that. So that's pretty awesome. He was in episode 1, was he not?
He actually was. So I actually have kind of got him on. I totally forgot about that. But he told me afterwards, he's like, I hated every second of that. And I hated my voice. I'm going, you know what? That's something that you just have to get used to and you get over it. Right. So it's, no one likes their voice right off the bat. And then you just kind of get used to hearing it. And then it's like, okay, it sounds normal now. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah, could we talk about that? Because when I started, I had the same, like, I did not want to be in front of the camera. Did you have that same issue as well, or were you kind of just used to it from being around cameras?
No, I was worse because I was used to being behind the camera, and it was always like, no, I'm behind the camera. Keep me back here. I'm good with this. And then that was, I think, in the first couple of videos I did, it was just like, you know what, I'm going to throw it online, and there's people on the other side, but if you're going to do it, why not do it here where you might get a bad comment, but where's that going to really affect you in the grand scheme of your life, right? It's not your friends or family. They're going to encourage you. So don't even worry about it. I mean, I get the odd chirp from my younger brother who just loves to dig when he can, and friends and family, but it's all in good fun. So I'm never too concerned with that side. But I mean, right now I'm laughing because I realize my face is super red because I've been working all day. And then as soon as I get tired or I have a beer, face goes red, and I'm just got to roll with it. What are you going to do?
Right?
Yeah.
But I think it's just one of those things that it's a big confidence booster once you start to just get out there and do it, right? It's and I think that you start to see as you start to work on your YouTube channels more and more, you're more comfortable doing it, so your face kind of appears a little more, and you get a flow and a rhythm to it.
Yeah, right. I think that is important for YouTube channels too, for people to see the content producer and get a relationship with them, because there is, like you said, so many people sort of doing similar type things, and you just end up liking the person more than anything.
Yeah,
right?
And that's been my biggest thing is for me doing the local series. It's this is my passion project, but I realize that if I want my YouTube channel to grow a little more, I do need to kind of appear in front of the camera a bit more than I have been. So again, I've started a couple of videos. I'm working on one on 360 cameras and how to incorporate them into mountain biking and just other kind of uses as well. And so hopefully that'll get out in the next few weeks, but it's a little hectic right now with 2 documentaries kind of in the works and everything else. So again, just finding that balance for me is tough to get my face in front of the camera.
It's a skill too, right? And it's another tool in your tool belt to be able to sit in front of the camera and tell the story. And you become more independent that way.
Yeah, and I think that doing it too just makes you a better filmmaker in general, because you have to do everything. You're worrying about the audio, and you're worrying about making sure you're in focus, because autofocus is great, but it may not hit. And then you have to watch it back, say, okay, nope, did I make this point that I needed to make? And then if you didn't, go back, make sure you got it right, and make sure it flows. So it's a lot of, when you talk about workflow, that's like the toughest workflow you can have. So if you can do a YouTube workflow and find one that works, you can pretty well, it's filmmaking for sure. It's a different style, but if you can be a YouTuber and get in front of the camera and then also edit, direct yourself, do all of that, you're laughing when it comes to filmmaking.
Yeah.
It's a total different hierarchy of priorities, if
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, totally. It definitely,
Um,
it's the other thing that, along those lines, I mean, when you're trying to make sure, you know, you're also trying to get that confidence to do it when you're out in public. It's a common thing. I've seen tons of YouTube videos about YouTubing in public. It's the most awkward thing in the world. And if you can get past that barrier, then you're laughing.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
gotten better at it, but it's still dependent on who I'm with or the type of crowd. It can be super weird. You're just like try to hide behind a building and talk to the camera.
Yeah,
mhm.
and but I think that, and again, if you want your channel to do well, if you can just own it and go for it, and I'm not saying that I've done it or I will be able to do it, but I think those people that have done really well, they just own it, and their channels have success because of it, because they see that and want that themselves. They want that confidence to go out and do it.
Yeah.
Cool. So shifting gears a little bit, but not really. You're one of the only guys who's putting up a drone in pretty much every video. And like you see guys that are like, I remember Single Track Sampler a couple years ago. He's like, I'm going to buy a drone. He bought a drone, and I think he used it in 2 videos. How long have you been flying drones?
I think I got my first Phantom 4 Pro in 2017, and I had gotten my license under the old Canadian laws before I even bought a drone, because Christoph, one of my studio mates here, he's a cinematographer, and he was doing jobs for Niagara Tourism where it was actually a dual operator drone. So I was there as a ground crew, and I was also operating the camera while he flew the drone. So I've been going for 3 years now, and I've had 2 drones in that time. So I had the Phantom 4 Pro, and then I sold that and got the Mavic 2 Pro just for size. It's such a solid camera, and it's got 10-bit color range, so the colors that come out are incredible. And had to just re-up my licensing because our laws just changed, but I try to incorporate it, but I've also realized that with the locals episode 2, one of the critiques that I gotten from a friend of mine was just saying, like, the drone shot should have been where you ended it, but I don't want everything to be about the drone shots. They get to be a little bit much. So I try and work it in, but I don't want that to be the star of the show either. It should just be kind of seamless in the video. So if it works, I'll use it. But if it's kind of totally unnecessary, I won't throw it in there.
Yeah. Well, that's how you ended episode 1, also on a drone shot. So
yeah. And I didn't want every episode to end on a drone shot. It's such an easy way to end every one. But I mean, having a time at Dundas Peak, and I don't know if you guys have been or know what Dundas Peak is like now. It's such a touristy area. Thanks to BlogTO, it's almost impossible to get someone alone on the peak. And when Tim and I had that opportunity, I was like, okay, this is the ender for the video for sure, because it was sunset, and I was just able to wrap around the peak and then reveal the city behind and kind of his home trail network. It was like, this tells the story of Tim right here. This kind of is a great ender to it, and that's where it made sense. Whereas with Joel, who is the episode 2, I kind of liked the isolation that he had with his dog and kind of doing that epic walk off in the sunset there. So similar vibe, but I thought the FS7 on the ground told the story better.
cool.
Yeah, I've thought about getting a drone, but I don't know. I'd probably crash it the first time and totally wreck it. And so, most of the places I ride, I don't even know where. I mean, I guess there might be a few places, but I'd want a super wide open place even before I'd try to set it up. So
practice is important. I mean, they've got the sensors, but you want to know how it flies and where you're flying, and that's another big thing. Is I won't fly a drone anywhere near Toronto. I've got a couple apps that tell me where it's safe to fly, and kind of the gray areas where you can get away with it, but you don't want to do anything stupid. I don't want to be the guy that makes the laws even more strict than they already are. So you just have to watch where you're flying. But honestly, if you've played any video games, it gets pretty easy to fly them. It's more about looking for shots that actually work for that situation. Because a lot of people will throw the drone up. They just go as high as they possibly can and shoot straight down because it's something they haven't seen before. But YouTube's saturated with tons of drone footage. So my approach with it is low and slow. Looks way more cinematic and really kind of reveals it. And then also, instead of just landscape shots, have someone in it. You know, if you're mountain biking, try and get low and follow the rider through the trees, and it looks so sick.
Yeah, I've seen some of these a few videos, mountain bike videos, where they have the drones actually like really following tight through like trees following the riders, and it looks amazing, but that's got to be some serious skills to pull that off.
Yeah, and a few other things that you'll see is like if they do a lot of those tree shots, a lot of times it's a cable cam. Like there's no way you're fitting a drone in through trees as it's like ripping along with a rider who's already going fast. There's a filmmaker up in Collingwood that does all of the Blue Mountain stuff, and he does awesome mountain bike stuff as well. Brian Hunt, and his content is great. He's done a lot of experimental stuff with cable cams, and he's worked with Emily Batty and her sister as well, and they just do awesome stuff out there.
Did he shoot the promos for the bike park?
Yeah. So he did all that stuff, and he is he's done a couple of videos with my buddy Tyler Pratt, who's done a couple of EWS races. So I think he's done Whistler twice, and it's Spain somewhere, and so they've done some footage together. And Tyler's a fast rider; he's really good, and just shreds. So like doing the cable cam footage to the trees is wicked for sure.
Nice. Did he do that three stage fat bike video with Tyler Pratt too?
Yeah.
So I seen that one
as well. Yeah. So actually, Tyler is going to be an episode as well at one point or another. Hoping to get him on. So I've been in talks with him. So I've like kind of put feelers out for a lot of different locals episodes to keep me busy throughout the year. So hopefully a video a month or every 2 months on that scale, and get a little more out just for fun in between.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, so I think that's probably pretty good, unless you wanted to add something else on there.
No, I mean, the big thing, I'm just trying to get as much awareness out for the Pekanjigum ride as possible. I don't know if you guys are able to throw up a link for that charity donation slot. I mean, anything helps that we can get out there. But yeah, it's a pretty cool program. And I mean, the kids up there, again, I think it was 65 to 70% of the population up there is under the age of 25. And just want to keep them busy and keep them on two wheels. So every little bit helps, and just keep them busy. They've had a rough go the last few years with forest fires and that too. So if we can get them in kind of managing the land that they have up there and building trails, I mean, hopefully get them some tourism dollars too. If they can build some really good trails up there and some more infrastructure for mountain biking, just get people stoked to ride.
Actually, that's something I wanted to ask about too, is what they were doing for trail infrastructure up there.
Yeah, so I don't know so much on that side, but I do know that they've had to build up a lot of boardwalks just for the community in general, because it does get really muddy up there. The one thing that was suggested, if you go up in the summer and in the fall, especially, just bring boots. That's all you're going to wear, because it gets really mucky. But once they've started building, again, they've got, I believe, some of that Canadian Shield rock and a lot of different types of terrain. So I'm really curious to see what it'll be like fat biking up there. Hopefully we get a bit of a morning there, because it's going to be tight for me to shoot the whole thing, but I'd love to hear more about what type of trails they're building. New Hope did build a pump track up there just as a small project. And I think since then they've sent the kids out to start building more trails.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It is really cool. And I mean, obviously Canada has not been great treating our First Nations. So, trying to work to not be the people that go up and fix their problems for them, but give them an avenue and an outlet. And I don't want to speak too much on that, because I don't know so much about that, but I just think that, if you have a bad day, riding a bike makes it a little bit better, and that goes for anyone. So I think biking is a universal language, and that's another thing, a little off topic, but first language for them up there is Ojibwe. So a lot of the community doesn't speak English, or they speak very little English. So the just getting up there and riding bikes, it's pretty cool to have that connection, and knowing that everyone just gets excited to see new bikes, right?
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, man. I think that what you said, that just riding a bike will improve your day, and I think that's a good message.
No, it's exactly. You have a bad day, you go ride a bike, and it'll make it better.
So what we'll do is we'll put a link in the comments below the video once this is up for repeats. But if you could let the people watching right now know where they could find more information on the project.
Yeah, so I think it is CanadaHelps.org. I'm just going to pull it up here. Yeah, so it's CanadaHelps.org. And then if you go to search by charity name, you can type in, I believe, Pekanjigum or New Hope Bikes. Hang on, let me pull it up. I believe it's New Hope Bikes as the charity, and
Okay.
once you pull that up, it'll kind of take you through and show you how to donate there. But it's really easy and
Perfect.
streamlined. So yeah, a couple bucks, anything. It's we did that for Christmas this year instead of doing a lot of Christmas presents. We just got a couple small things, and then the rest of the time we donated to this Keep Pedaling in Pikangikum Ice Road Challenge.
And might there be any way to send up bike parts?
So that I'm not too sure. I can definitely look into it and see what that situation is going to be like. But I think that they're just going through Cycles Lambert, which is New Hope's provider. But I think the money is going to go into sending parts up there. It's going to go up to paying the kids that are operating the bike shop. So I think that just by donating a couple dollars, it'll get that up there. So yeah, I'd have to look into that though. I really don't know. I'm not the guy to ask, but I can definitely ask around for you.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be great to know. And if you find that out, I'll leave that in the comments as well, because that's something I think that could be pretty cool. Is maybe like not everybody might not have some money to send up, but I think pretty much everyone has some bike parts laying around, right?
Yeah.
That you don't know what to do with. So definitely that'd be cool if that was an option. But man, it's been great having you on. It's been cool figuring it out. I think what we'll do is stick around after the show and answer some comments in the comment section. But if you guys don't have anything else to add, I think we could wrap it up here for now.
Sweet. Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me on. And yeah, it's something that I think is definitely worthwhile, getting people out riding and worthwhile cause. So no, I'm really glad that you guys could have me out and talking about it. Again, I don't know enough about it. I'm learning as I go, but that's part of what I love about filmmaking and the bike community for sure is everyone's down to help and get people on bikes, and I love documenting it. So it's a great combination.
So you're just, so people, if they want to find you on YouTube, you're just Stay Wild Films.
So it is Stay Wild. There's a couple other Stay Wild channels. Mine you'll see has got the Locals episode 2 up there, and I've got a yellow Stay Wild logo on the for my icon there.
Okay. I just also wanted to mention that this podcast is now available on iTunes and Spotify. So we'll have this audio link up probably in a day or two, so you guys can listen to it there if you want to listen to it on your ride to work or whatever.
Toronto rush hour.
Sweet.
You got to have something, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks again for joining us, man. It's been great having you, and hopefully we can get on a ride soon.
For sure. Yeah, I'm always down.
Sweet. And yeah, check out Stay Wild, check out Toogie Howser, ride good trails.
All right.
Let's dive into the comments, boys.